What was the weirdest thing someone asked you to do during sex? A woman I dated had a cum-eating fetish. Except it wasn't that she just liked swallowing my cum. She insisted that I cum on food so she could eat it. I would have to end every sexual encounter by coming onto a piece of toast, bagel, or whatever she wanted to eat. It was kind of funny, quirky at first, but eventually I just wanted to have sex without worrying if we had the right bagels on hand. I just wanted to have sex without worrying if we had the right bagels on hand. It was with a girl I'd been with for a couple of months. Girl said, "I can't wait to taste your blood." I responded with, "I definitely can't say the same." She was not pleased. Met this girl on Tinder who was a bit of an exhibitionist, so when we first did the nasty, we did it in my apartment living room with my roommates in their respective rooms. She liked the fear of being caught, and I was really horny, so like it. That's not the weird part though. She kept on saying, "Fill me up with your milk," pretty loudly even after I told her she needs to be quiet. So I shoved her head out my living room window and continued to do the horizontal mambo jambo. Now she has a "my head needs to be outside while my body is getting rammed out of sight" fetish because of me. I had a girl who asked me to give her hickeys. In of itself, not a weird ask. But she demanded that I suck so hard that she wanted it to bleed. I tried. I really gave it my best effort, but no matter how hard I tried, it wasn't enough. Eventually my mouth got tired and my tongue was sore. She was a tiny woman who like a gorilla. I've had some decently rough sex, but this was legitimately painful. She also lived with like 3 roommates in a single family house, and she was the loudest screamer I've ever been with. It was a very uncomfortable time. Not me, but a great friend of mine. He moved off to college and he currently had a girlfriend. She was down there with him breaking in the IKEA bed set. When she told him, "Hit me like a man," he was currently balls deep in her and he was confused, so he slapped her. She said, "Hit me like a real man." He proceeded to clock her lights out. In a moment of excitement and confusion, he had to ask himself, should I continue? Should I stop? WTF did I just do? She had a lovely shade of purple across her face. He broke up with her shortly after she tried getting the same thing again. Partner knows about my obsessive love of all things Harry Potter. Called me my little Dumbledore during sex. Couldn't finish because we were both laughing too hard. Asked for pictures of my teeth. It escalated into requesting full-on dental records. I later learned he had a dental chair set up and everything for sex purposes. Weirdest thing is that he had no dentistry in his background. Yeah, that guy was a serial killer. My father was a dentist. We donated one of his dental chairs to a sex dungeon after he died. The people at the dungeon were thrilled. I jokingly blew raspberries, the thing where you purse your lips and make a fart noise, like on a baby's belly, to make them laugh on my ex's clit at the beginning of what was supposed to be normal cunnilingus. As I switched over to traditional pussy eating, she was laughing and said, "No, keep doing the other thing." So I brought her to orgasm with raspberries in record time for us, like 3 or 4 minutes. Probably would have been quicker if we both could stop laughing. She was really embarrassed about it for some reason and wouldn't let me ever do it again despite me trying a few times. Her being easily embarrassed was kinda common. Whenever I was pumping during intercourse, an air would get trapped and make that suction farting noise. If I laughed even slightly, she'd start crying from humiliation and we'd have to stop having sex. And everyone knows the way to make something infinitely funnier is to demand no one laughs at it. Do not laugh at the silly farting noise. Take the condom off. I refused. But after I couldn't finish and stopped, she proceeded to tell me she had an infection that was contagious and was advised to not have sex for 8 months. WTF. Let's drench ourselves in Coca-Cola and have sex. I want to give you a carbonated blowjob. She told me to hit her. I gave her a light bitch slap. But she didn't mean slap her, she meant hit her, as in with my fist. I didn't do it. She wanted me to dress in a ski mask and pretend to be a home intruder. She stopped mid-sex and told me, "Put on your Batman mask and treat me like a whore." Okay, but did you do it? Bet your ass I did. She called me Batman the rest of the sex. I've never felt more powerful. She sounds like a girl you want to introduce to your parents. Wait. Pull out her pubic hair. Not very sexy. Sure, why not? She wanted me to say terrible things about her. That's how I found out physical abuse is much easier to provide on request than emotional abuse. Gosh. You're such a bad girl. Your handwriting is terrible. Had an ex who liked being submissive. She already asked me to choke and slap her, which took time getting used to, but I started to enjoy it with her. One night we're watching Law and Order, SVU, and the episode is about a guy who sneaks into his own house to rape his wife because they were into that sort of thing. Well, during the episode my girlfriend at the time is telling me how hot that sounds and makes a proposal to me. Her parents were going on vacation for the week and she wanted me to sneak into her house with a mask on, while she was showering, sleeping, whatever, because it had to be spontaneous, and rape her. I wasn't into that. I had a hard enough time choking her because she'd start to cry and I'd stop, and then she asks why I'm stopping. Needless to say, we didn't last much longer after that. Good times though. Just to add, she was never pushy about it or made me feel uncomfortable. She was sexually abused when she was younger, which is the reason for all the rape fantasy stuff and why the crying while choking her freaked me out a bit. We still had a lot of fun after I said no to the rape fantasy, and our relationship didn't end because of that. We had great sexual chemistry. Things were getting hot and heavy with a guy. As I was undressing, I went to take off my watch and he said, "Don't worry about that. Get over here." I thought nothing of it and went back to him. He kissed his way down my body and I then looked down to see him licking and sucking my watch face. I didn't say anything at the time, but I did give my watch a thorough clean when I got home. I had a guy tell me he wanted to put a baby in me and asked me to say, "Give me a baby." As he came, we had known each other for less than a week. This isn't crazy weird, but I still want to share it here. Hope you enjoy. I had this friends with benefits thing going on with a guy that I had met about 3 months before we proceeded to actually do anything. Our kinks were a thing we talked openly about and kinda joked around with them. So I thought that he knew me well enough and vice versa for us to actually have sex and act upon the things we had discussed. It all started pretty well. He was being rough with me and I liked it. Then after a few minutes of foreplay and all that, he paused completely and asked me if I was alright. I appreciate being taken care of, but he was literally inside me, choking me, and then just stops to ask this when he could have just asked if my color was still green. Well, I nod and say that he can continue. Instead of doing so, he lets go of me and backs off of me. He seemed completely freaked out. I got up and asked if he was okay. He started telling me that he's sorry and that he's a bad person for hurting me. I made him sit down and he actually started crying. So I cuddled him and told him it's all good. Turns out he hadn't been this rough with anyone before and only did this because he really liked me and hoped that I'd like him back if he was able to do all the things I liked. We've been dating for 8 months now and he's the sweetest thing there is. I went out with this girl who had a bit more than a blindfold fetish. She would keep it on long after sex, often to the next morning. Then she wanted to go on whole dates surreptitiously blindfolded with blacked out sunglasses. Her whole personality would change when she was blindfolded, in kind of a nice way. Extremely affectionate and very girly. To be honest, I liked blindfolded A's personality a lot better than regular A's. It was weird, but super cute. Eventually, she found a website that sold blacked out contact lenses you couldn't see through, so we could continue in public. We would go out on dates outside our usual circles where people only knew her as my blind girlfriend. We broke up a while ago, but we still sometimes go out together as my blind friend. These bird box challenges are getting out of hand. Had a guy ask me to unlock my phone, then proceeded to put his number in my contacts while he was pounding me. Him. You like how I did that? Huh. Me. It was kind of weird actually. She asked me to put a lollipop in her pussy and then eat it. I did. Tasted alright to be fair. That's how you get yourself a yeast infection. Bite my nipples, and I was like, bite. Bite. Forceful. Bite. And she was like, yes. I did, and she said, bite me harder. I did, and she said, harder. That was the most fearful bite I've ever had in my life. That's when you go out and buy her a good set of nipple clamps. While eating a bowl of spaghetti. Girl. Hey, take your dick out and put it in this spaghetti. Me. Is it ho wait? What for? Girl. I wanna suck the meat sauce off. Get over here and dip it in. Proceed to have a weird food texture in mouth fetish for the next couple of weeks. She'd chew different types of food to see what felt best while giving head. Hamburger wasn't fun. The ground beef wasn't what I thought it would be. I dated a guy briefly that couldn't get off unless I choked him until he passed out. I'd choke him, keep on riding. Then when he came. This is how it had to be every time or he wouldn't finish. It didn't last long. It was weird. Girl really wanted to blindfold me, handcuff me and then start cutting me with a knife. I said no. I brought home a girl and during the heat of the moment she started screaming on the top of her lungs. Like her vocal cords were about to explode. I'm not all that impressive in bed, screaming to go harder and just yelling till her face turned blue. I lived with my parents in a small house. My room was right next to theirs. They were home. I have a male buddy who has never understood daddy kinks. He f***ed a girl a few times who kept calling him daddy even though she knew he hated it. So he started calling her sport or buckaroo every time she did it. If I wanted to play Minecraft after, it was hilarious and adorable, but not the best time to ask.